Okay, hi, let me share my screen really quick. Okay, so the data that I have been working with and researching throughout the semester is poverty rates in the United States between different racial and ethnic groups. And so what I've done is I've kind of looked pretty closely at the two largest population groups in the United States, which is the white population and the African American population. And I've looked at their average poor rates between the years 2002 to 2020. So I've really just focused on the last 2 decades or so. And what I was able to find is really interesting. So as you can see here, even though white Americans take up over 76% of the total population, the amount of African Americans living under the poverty line is almost double the amount of the white population, even though African Americans only make up 33% of the total population. And so I wanted to ask the question of why we saw such a large disparity, even though there are more white people, significantly more white people living in the United States overall. And so the first place that I looked was educational data, and I was able to find some pretty interesting things. As you can see here, again, we see a large disparity between these two groups when it comes to the number of bachelor's degrees that both these groups have been able to obtain between the years 2001 to 2020. So again, kind of that similar time frame. And so as you see here, on average, it looks to be about 30,000 more white people are able to attain bachelor's degrees overall than the African American population. And so that made me wonder, okay, so we're seeing that white people are able to gain a bachelor's degree a lot more often than African Americans, but what happens when they do, when both of these groups get bachelor's degrees? And so then I was able to find the data about unemployment rates after receiving these degrees. So this chart shows us the unemployment rates of 25 to 34-year-olds with bachelor's degrees or even higher in African American and white populations. And so again, we see this gap, we see a disparity here. White people who were able to gain bachelor's degrees are hanging out in about the 3 to 3.5 unemployment rate, while African Americans are around 5%, if not higher, for the unemployment rate after attaining a bachelor's degree. And so I think that both of these graphs about this educational data give us a good inkling as to why we're seeing such a disparity in the poverty rates between these two groups, because education is a really good way to ensure that you're going to be able to get a good job in the future. And without that opportunity or big disparities in that opportunity, you're more likely to end up living under the poverty line than people who were able to gain a better education. And so I think that that is a good reason as to why we're seeing such a large gap here. And I think that at this point, now we can start asking questions of, well, what kind of policies can we look at the governmental level, at our local level, that can help close these gaps and change disparities so that we're seeing more equal access to education and people living, less and less people living under the poverty rate overall. So I'm really interested in this data. It's been really interesting to work with and getting to see these social issues be put onto a graph and be looked at in a numerical way. So yeah, that's what I've got. And I've really enjoyed working on this and I'm excited to finish it out. So thank you.